All right, so this is going to just be my rough guide to getting Animatediff-cli-travel program running. A couple of main notes. You'll need the repo, which is here. I brought it up as our first example. You're also probably going to need to make sure you're on the latest CUDA. I would recommend doing that. It seems to work just fine. I don't have any issues. A couple other footnotes before we begin. If you're afraid of terminal, this is probably going to be a worse experience than just trying to learn through Comfy UI. And if you do prefer Comfy UI, there are a lot of people working on that already. So you can really just use Comfy UI if that's more comfortable, and you can just kind of move the parameters around and feel it out. So I would say that's probably for more comfortable users. So yeah, if you like cute Comfy UI, I would just recommend using Comfy UI. But if you're like me and you hate yourself, you can do stuff in terminal like I'm about to. Okay, so basically you're going to need the repo, and you're going to need a directory folder to put it in, and you're going to get it set up. So I got a folder here. It's just a new folder too, whatever, just an example to get us going. You would right click into here, and you can open in terminal, or you can just launch PowerShell and move your directory to there if you want to get started. So we'll go back to our thing here. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to use the HTTPS, and I'm going to copy this here. Just click on it. Yep. And you're just going to bring that on over to our terminal, which I've hidden somewhere. It doesn't like to be copied. So there it is. Okay, so I got this terminal here. I'm going to type git clone. I'm going to clone this in. That's going to set up, and it's going to go grab the general files that we need to get started. There are going to be more files you need, and I'll go over those as well. But as you can see, this will it'll give us a new folder we can go into. So to follow that up, we're going to go cd Animatediff. So that's where we want to be, and that we'll go into our next steps here in just a moment, because we're not really ready to start inputting commands, really building it. We need to instead, that we'll create our environment here in just a short moment. I wanted to show something I was probably going to cut out. I don't quite remember. At the bottom of this webpage, this is the original kind of commands, but this is like the list for us to actually start building the animated diff to get it running so that we can start doing the config. And I'll go over these details here in a moment. I know it's not entirely complete. Like, there's going to be some things we might run into, but we can go over that in a moment. I think, yeah, so we clone the repo into the folder. I mean, transfer that folder, and yeah, I guess we can do this. Now you'll see that this first one says like it was the git clone we just ran, but it has a different name. This repo did not change it. So, oh, sorry, it's a little scrolled up. As you can see here, it's a little, we don't need this first command since we already ran it, and it's not even the right command. It's for a different repo, so don't use that. And then we moved into the folder here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do this command. This is our, and you can just copy paste these, and it's going to be one line at a time. You don't really need these ones with the pound sign or just comments. They're just talk. You don't run those. You just run these ones. They're the important ones. So I'll just jump back over to our command window. So I'm going to put in here. I'm going to put in. You're going to need Python and stuff. So if you try to run this and you get like an error, you're going to need to make sure you have pip and Python and all that as well. There are lots of resources for that, so I'm not going to go into that deep. So I kind of just have like a basic, I hope you have a basic understanding of how to use terminal, like, or to get it set up. You might have to jump through some hoops, but it's not nothing you couldn't just Google search online. So I believe in you. We run this and it doesn't work because actually don't want 310. I think you can just run Python. Yeah, I just do Python -m vnv.vnv. So what this is doing is it makes us a virtual environment. It's a computer inside a computer, basically. It's just a way for us to keep everything that our environment's going to need to run animated diff away from all our stable diffusion, like stable diffusion and stuff, and not get messy. And you don't want all those wires crossed by not using virtual environments, so you're going to want to use it here. Then we need to run this command. It's the scripts activate. Now, when you see it in here, you're going to see that it's like this way, and I think that's the correct way. But sometimes you might see with like, oh, like you'll see like a .bat or something. You want to run it where there's no affix at the end, so it's just vnv scripts activate. I'm sorry, I need the period. Since I put a period in there, you're gonna see all these errors and be like, oh god. So don't let the red scare you. Since I put the period here, I needed to name it with the period. So now as you can see, this green section here ended up. That means we are now in our virtual environment, which means we are ready for the next step, which is it's going to want us to just install Torch right away. So we can just do that. So we'll go back here. And for all intents and purposes, it's going to download. So it's going to take a little bit, and I'll go ahead and save you the nightmare. I'm just going to like stop here and then get the next parts ready. Yeah, I'm not updating my pip because I'm a rebel. All right, so it looks like our torch vision's done there. So our next one's going to be this. I'll bring it here. There was a better. You can disregard what I said at the initial part of this video. This section does exist, and this is for your Windows. So you can use this to get set up. This one does take out the period though, so mine's a little different, but you can just rely on this. See how this one? This is the one I mentioned earlier. You see how it has this .bat? If you have a problem like running this command, just remove the .bat and just run it like this. And you should still, but you still know you did successful if you get the green VNV here. So go ahead and remove that. Now, this is going to be part of our setup to install Animatediff. So this is going to download the other extensions and all that we need for our environment. So we'll go ahead and run that. You'll see there it's going to do some thinking. Now, while that's loading, I will go over a couple additional things. Not every module, I think, is included. I think maybe they did a better job cleaning it up. We'll see once we get this going. But once we get to the point where we're trying to run it, if we run into any errors, I'm not going to be able to solve every error. You might have to go to outside resources for that. But I will say there's like a couple, or there's like one in particular that it's not really an error. It's just the module's not included, and you just need to install it. And that's usually as simple as just writing pip install and then just writing the name of whatever module it says it needs. So I'll show you that here in a moment once this is done. So we'll go ahead and let this load. Like I said, terminal, yeah, it can be a little scary, but it is what it is. I don't really know for sure, so it's like, okay, well, blah, blah, blah. Who cares about all this nonsense? You shouldn't have any issues here, though. So if you do, then it's something with how your thing's set up, or maybe it's going to ask you for something more specific. So, all right, so saying tight. Let's see, is there anything else I can add in this dead space? Let's see, getting control nets. Oh, no. So, okay, cool. So we're done here. So that's done. So we did this, and we'll also throw in Xformers because it doesn't want us to grab it. So we'll go ahead and throw in Xformers. I think this is 100 megabytes. Yeah, it's whatever. It won't take very long. There's these other ones. You can run these as well. This uses the stylized command. I prefer inferring with the stylized command. Basically what it does is it gives you a config kind of like this, but you can input a video, like you just take an MP4 and you just command it in, and then it will take the video, it will split it up into kind of usable frames for animated diff, like because the FPS is usually a little bit lower. But there's other methods around that. Maybe I'll make another video this weekend maybe about like how to use the stylized feature. I won't include that in this just introduction video though to get you started. But you can run these and they're pretty self-explanatory, and at the very least the animated diff will have like those general things, or you can just read through this whole repo and you'll be able to devise what it is that the it's doing, like what the style, I think, is the stylized here. Oh, right here, yeah. And this nice little thing will show you everything you need to know to like kind of get that stylization going. Like it'll say, oh yeah, just put your movie file in, and it'll set it up automatically for you. And then you can just go into that. You can go into that config, and you can just change it however you want. And that's how you do your vid to vid. And what that added benefit is it'll run a low scale one first, so you can see it, and then it'll control net tile upscale it for you, so you can see what it looks like when it like resolutions. I will say I'm doing all of this on a 4090, so your experience may vary, especially on weaker video cards. So do keep that in mind. Running big inferences on like high resolution is going to cost you time. Even on a 4090, some of the highest resolutions just take forever. Let's check back in our repo, I think. All right, it looks like we didn't have any issues, so it came together. Then we can determine if it's working by doing this. We type in animated diff while we're under our VNEV, and we'll see what its response is. So we type that up, we get an error. So this is you see how it says no module named Onyx runtime? Yeah, you know what we're about to do. Well, yeah, we could do the Onyx runtime, but actually I think if I just force this stylized command input, maybe, so I'll take back what I said. I'm not going to edit this video or anything. I'm just going to upload it raw because I'm not a YouTube creator. I'm sorry. I'm just not, but maybe someone's going to take it. Who knows? So I hope they just remove my dumb voice out of it. You can use this if you want. I really don't care. You can credit me, I guess. That's all I asked for. So we'll go ahead and let this load. But basically, yeah, so it looks like they probably just have some things that they built into these additional features. So you just kind of want to go, I'll just say go ahead and also make sure you grab this DW pose. You're going to want that anyway. If you're ever planning to use the open pose control net, I would definitely just say go ahead and grab this too, because it is just too good. So let's see if that solves our problem. So run it again. Okay, so it says more user warning, the module media pipe is not installed. So you know how we get that? Yeah, pip install media pipe. Grab that too. Now, I kind of glossed over it just a little bit, so while this is installing, I guess I'll just say it again. If you look here in our folder, we're going to need, you're going to see that there's going to be a couple folders, but inside data here, you're going to see a models folder. Inside this model folder, the SD is where you're going to want to put your stable diffusions. Motion models, where you're going to put your motions. So I'll get those here, and I will show you. I'll just show you my completed one, like my working module, because I don't feel like moving them over and all that jazz. So, all right, so we have this. Cool. We can do try it again. We also, it was successful, by the way. If you see the if you saw the thing other than that error, so like if you see this box, this means you have successfully got Animatediff running. You'll see that there are some options, like the first one says install completion. You can just run that, just do Animatediff install. Okay, so I went ahead and filled what we needed in Hugging Face here. I put the original Stable Diffusion 1.5 in here, so that way we could use this. So yeah, inside the Hugging Face folder, you need to put this Stable Diffusion 1.5. You can get that from Hugging Face, or I don't know. I think the model might just download it. It's not on its own nowadays. Don't remember. And then a motion model, I would put the 3 basic motion models in here. There are more, but we'll do those for now. And then an SD, I'm going to put a model I can use in here. All right, so I'm going to just put that in there for now. And then you should see if this will work. So we'll go back over to this. Yeah, sorry, I ran it and I got it wrong. It happens, but I did some minor cut work because I said I would. I never lie about anything, including how much effort I would put into this. So you can see here, it's just like running the pre-processing for a control net. This prompt travel already kind of came prepared with some of that. So, but we're just running this for our example, just to kind of get it started. All right, so you can see it looks like we're generating something. So we'll be able to see our output hopefully shortly. I don't think I had these safe tensors for the LoRa's even set up, so it didn't load those. It'll probably need to load those too, but we're probably gonna get some really horrendous output. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Let's see. All right, I mean, looks like it worked. We got a character. I didn't change the prompt. It's the default one that it comes with. I think they're a JoJo fan. I don't remember. Yeah, looks like it's running, and all right, we got it set up. And then from there, I'll put the stuff about the prompt travel config here after this, and then you should be good. I figured I could actually just record into the future here. I can just go over some other things while that's downloading that we're probably going to want to cover. So even though we're still building the environment, I do want to reflect on some of the more important things of like actual usage during generation. You're going to see this how to use section. This is like what your configs are going to usually look like. You can just, the red parts are just, like I said, notes, but you'll see a nice handful of, it looks like code. It might be a little scary at first, but the more you get used to it, the more it's really not that big of a deal. Just think of it as like A11 setup. And what we're doing is we're defining the parameters for when we do infer on the model. You'll see like name, path, vague path, motion model, compile, seed. I don't ever mess with this setting, so I would just ignore it. Seed is seed. You know, like pretty much these red notes will explain what these things are, so you can always just check to them. But we need a path to our stable diffusion model that we're going to use. So usually you're going to have these in your folder, and you'll be able to kind of just devise where you're going to need to find these things to run the model. We recently are able to use vays. So you can also put a vay in there if you want to add for extra bonus. I do believe that they said you're going to need to do it would like you need to use a diffused model, but I'm not entirely sure because the readme is now saying that, so I don't know. The motion model, this is going to be one of the ones you need as well. This is our other stable diffusion model that allows us to create our animations. To download those, I believe I thought there was a link for it all in here. If you go down here to the related resources, you'll see one that says animated diff. We'll just go ahead and click that. And this was the original repo. And in here, you'll see that they have, you can just ignore all this. We're just looking for the part where it's like, oh yeah, you can, oh yeah, so right here, so like download the base and module checkpoints. There's a link here to a Google Drive or how you can face or Civet AI if you so desire. And you can go get your motion models through this. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong section. So you can see them here. And yeah, I would just use this link. I'll even put it in the YouTube for the link so that way you don't have to go diving for it. But yeah, you're going to need those. There are custom made models out there as well now, so you can use those. And I'm not going to go over fine tuning though. That's maybe for another video in another lifetime. So from there, let's see. You're gonna see more details. Some that maybe look a little more familiar, like steps, guidance scale. This is CFG, for example. As you can see, noted. Your schedulers. We have a list of them, but I personally, I would suggest experimenting. But I do like the 2M, the KDP. MPV, whatever. You'll have the negative prompt here. So you're going to see our prompts are kind of mixed up. We have like a head prompt, we have a tail prompt, and prompt map. You don't really need each individual one. Like for example, you could just run just the prompt map if you wanted to. You don't have to use the head or tail, or you could do it the other way if you're not really running a long inference like this. Because as you can see, the 0 would represent like the first frame, and then 32 would be like halfway through. 96, obviously that's a lot of frames. So you can change it, and you can define these numbers however you want. So you can just change them. This is where we would put our LoRa's. We just put the file location of our LoRa, and then our strength works pretty much just like how it does in Stable Diffusion. So you can pretty much just trust those values to convert over. This is a newer section. This is for our motion LoRa's. This uses the V2 motion LoRa's. You'll see all that in the directory that I clicked on. And you can opt to use these things, or you could opt not to use these things. It really just depends. I'd say probably for your first couple runs, I would just remove these and not have them in your thing, and just get used to like how the model feels, because you're probably going to be running a bunch of iterations to get comfortable. And then this is the messier side of things. Now you have the IP adapter map, you have the control net map, and then these are all your control nets here. And then these are like your upscale config, so on and so forth. Now, I would say don't worry about these just yet. I would say get some use out of just like the default setup, and I'll show you how to get that started and just get like comfortable before you start trying to throw control nets into your mix, because they kind of change how models feel and all that. So, and same with the IP adapter map, but this stuff you can exploit to your fullest content, and it's done a pretty good job of describing what it is that all these commands do, and you're just gonna have to feel it out. One thing that's not clearly described, though, I will say, is the scale list. I got highlighted here. Great, scale list. So I would say if there's anything you need to know that's different than other control net variables from Stable Diffusion, the scale list refers to the frames that aren't that frame, that are neighboring frames based on how many numbers there are. So like this 0.5 is the neighboring adjacent frame will receive about 50% of the information from this control net from its other frames. And then the 2 spaces away will be 4, and then 3 spaces 3, so on and so forth. So if you're planning to do frame by frame animation, like you're going to put in a frame for each control net, you're not going to want any scale list, because then they're going to start overlapping each other, and they're going to rewrite what that control net frame should be doing. So you remove these if you're doing frame by frame. You can, but if you're going to try to keyframe your way to an animation, you're going to need these, and you can use this to change the parameters of how much they affect each other. So like if you need to rely on it a lot, I would say you want to raise these values. But if you're using multiple control nets, you'll run into this thing where it looks like all your videos are burned in. It's because these scale lists are overlapping each other, and there's just too much information. So you just get hell mode. Okay, so I think that should more or less kind of vaguely start you on the prompt travel JSON file. I think there's an easier one though, and I'll save that for when we're done inferring.